So
So
new hat. What do you think?
I mean, well, fresh out of Vegas, so I need to know, like give us a little short and sweet of your trip.
Yeah, let's start it. So the back of the hat says Sphere 2024. By the way,
Sphere. Oh, it's a
I
sphere
yeah,
collectible.
I also got a sick poster, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull up. But
Do you know
in
the
the mean,
artist?
no, I don't. So basically, they have different. What I've learned is they have different posters. I think for every weekend. So obviously, a bunch of them are Vegas themed. Some of them are gambling themed. Um, I'm not gonna be able to find mine, but so it's a turtle sitting, and it's like he's in the desert. It's got like kind of a super psychedelic like look to it, deserty look to it, and he's playing on a slot machine. Oh wait, here it is. Um, let me transfer this over so I can share my screen. But the merch was very very cool. I was impressed with all of it, and I copped a T-shirt for Todd. But this is the poster that I got. So it's a
Zoom in
lizard.
on it.
It's a lizard sitting at oh
Oh,
shit
at a slot machine.
yeah a slot machine. It's not letting me zoom in.
That's okay. We'll
Uh,
post it on our socials now that we're back on social
yeah,
media. But yeah, this is
there you go. So
oh shit.
yeah, so I'm stoked on the poster. I got a hat. Amanda got a T-shirt.
Hell yeah.
I got a T-shirt for Todd, which is my father. For those who don't know, so yeah, it was great, man. The Sphere. I gotta say, like
Oh yeah.
the experience was really really cool. So I gotta say, everything went so smoothly. Like going into the venue was really smooth. We got there like an hour early, so it was like seamless entry. There was no line, walked right in. There was no line at any of the beer vendors, bars, merch tents, really at all. So and the place was packed by the time the show started. So that was really nice. I got to give a shout out to the Sphere for running things smoothly. And they have self checkout at the like alcohol vendors, which is super interesting to me. I mean, they have somebody sitting there like to check, but yeah, as a whole, it's like it's all self checkout stuff.
Keeps it
So
running properly.
yeah, it keeps it running
That's
smooth.
beautiful.
Obviously, the show itself, man, like the visuals were crazy, and we sat up in the 400, so we were in section 404. And I was just blown away. It started off a little quiet, like the sound was a little quiet, so I was a little worried about it, but it ended up picking up. Sounded great throughout the rest of the show. Some of the visuals I had seen before, some of them I hadn't, which was nice. I was kind of worried that going into it, like I would have seen everything on the internet, but some of it was new, and we had a great set list. And Amanda really enjoyed
Yeah.
herself. It was her first show, and the people next to us were stoked that it was her first show, and they were some deadheads. So yeah, it was a blast, man. Overall, just a really good time. It's good to see the boys still rocking. And you know what? No matter what anyone says, I'm glad Dead and Company's the thing. I'm glad the music
Oh
never
yeah.
stopped. It's still rolling. So great experience. If you get a chance, they added like 6 more dates. So
Yeah, I know.
in August. So if anybody's listening and they're on the fence, just fucking do it, dude. It's a blast.
Do you remember what day y'all got Terrapin Station, didn't you?
So we were on the 20. We were on Sunday. So Sunday
Yeah.
the 27th, 27, or yeah, 26th, 26th.
Yeah.
Do you have the
Fuck
set
yeah.
list?
So Samson and Delilah, Franklin's Tower, Jack Straw, Ramble on Rose, Feels Like a Strange. Friend of the Devil is a great cover.
Yep. Yep.
All Along the Watchtower, Terrapin Station, Into Drums in Space. So like tell me about Drums in
Well,
Space.
Drums in Space is funny because I look at
Don't
Amanda.
tell me
And
you went to the bathroom.
no, so listen, I look at Amanda because I had just left right before because there was no line, so I could be in and out like to grab a drink. So I left, grabbed a drink, and came back, and then they started Drums in Space. I told Amanda, I was like, by the way, you're just gonna have to like suffer through this because I hate Drums in Space
Oh
and I always skip it. But I had
What?
just left, so I was like, fuck it, we'll stay. And the visuals were insane. They have subwoofers under each seat.
Yeah,
So
it's
it was like
gangster.
rattling our fucking brains, right? So I'm glad that we didn't bail. I'm glad that we stayed for it, because she really thought she thought it was sick. She's like, why would you tell me to suffer through that? Like, that was awesome. I
Thank
was
you.
like, well,
Amanda, salute.
typically it's not. And so it was funny because she could see people getting up and walking out during it, and she was like, "Oh, they really don't like this, do they?" I was like, "Some people do, some people don't."
Man, it's
So
the
it was
Beam though.
good.
Had you've seen the Beam live before?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, dude, that's just like the
It was
symphony.
tight, and the All Along the Watchtower was the highlight. John fucking
Yeah,
ripped a crazy ass solo, which I like. I told myself I wasn't going to take a ton of videos, but I wanted to get pictures and videos for Todd and Carly, and so I took a handful of them, and I ended up catching the solo like right as he was getting into it. So I have like a minute and a half video of him just ripping through a solo on all along the Watchtower.
oh
So
yeah,
overall, the set list was great, and we really enjoyed it. I think the second set was better than the first, and they paid homage to towards the end. What did they close with? It was
let's
not
see.
Fade Away, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
No
So
one knows.
yeah, so they put up
Morning
pictures.
Dew.
They
Oh,
just put up like old pictures of like Dad and Jerry and a bunch of old pictures of them, which was really cool. And yeah, Morning Dew is like one of my favorite Dead songs, and so that was a blast. But overall, great experience, man. If you guys haven't been to the Sphere and you want to go, make it happen for sure. Even if it's not Dead, if there's more stuff coming through, gotta find the time
yeah,
to get there.
yeah. To find out that they had subwoofers under, like, that is. I've designed this movie theater in my mind. I don't know if we've talked about this on here, but I have a movie theater like concept in my mind, and I've written down a few things. But subwoofers under the seats was like a gimme, because like, how can you not just
Yeah,
add that physical nature to it? So glad somebody's doing something, ingenious out there. And yeah, it's just a beginning for the Sphere. So
yeah,
we'll
for
get there
sure.
soon. We'll get there soon.
It'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Yep.
But okay, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
welcome or welcome back. Totally Biased Music, Blake and Anthony. Today we are talking Hyperdrama by Justice. So Justice went on a hiatus. They came back with a little Apple Music intro. It was instant bromance when Xavier de Rosnay and Gaspard Auge met at a house party in the early 2000s in Paris. Two young French graphic designers who loved good old American rock and roll. What they lacked in technical expertise, they made up for in taste, and not exactly the good taste of French artist du jour. When we started, French house music was really about precision, and we arrived and had no idea what we were doing, De Rosny tells Apple Music's Zane Lowe. To the world of groovy French filter house, the duo known as Justice brought AC/DC energy, pushing distortion and giant neon cross that towered over Marshall speaker stacks at their famously wild live shows. So I'm a Justice fan. I love their first album. I know this is a new artist for you, kind of not your typical vibe, Anthony. So how did you feel upon first listen?
Let me ask you, what do you think I felt upon first listen? Like,
Here's what I think. I think the purpose of this podcast is to broaden your musical horizons. So that's what I tried to do with this. I tried to get you to think a little differently in terms of electronic music. That was kind of the goal with this. So did I succeed?
As to me thinking differently, well, it gave me a lot of thoughts, and the first thought, I mean, just me and house music, me and long-term house music do not get along physically, emotionally, spiritually. It like, I think I've trained my brain to shut off any like like I tried to figure out, one, what is the context for me to listen to this album, because I tried a lot of different things. I tried, first off, I couldn't take it all in as a whole. It was just physically not gonna happen. Like, if it just like I just couldn't, but I tried different things. I tried driving, listening to some music. I tried listening, having it in the background while I was doing something else. But I find just like and I don't want to say all house music, because it's not that, but long-term house music, like over a period of time, that I think sometimes lacks creativity. It just frustrates me. That's like it's an internal thing that I have going on, where it's like I could see the potential of how this music could be utilized, but it doesn't satisfy me in an album standpoint. Like I said, I'm not like anti house music, because I think all music and all rhythm has a place, right, and a way to kind of go. And there's points in this album that I do enjoy for sure. But anything that builds to to a drop that is the same, like it just throws me out of it. You know, like and I think it's because of live shows that I've been to that it happens where like I feel a track building, and in my mind I'm like, okay, I want it to build to a point that I can release to. But house music doesn't do that to me. It just kind of builds and then it's there, you know? And like, I think that's part of it. I don't know. I'm really excited to get your perspective on how this music resonates with you. Because like I said, for me, it's just like, I feel like I'm getting like blue balled every time when it builds to a point and I'm like, oh God, but like, what can I do with this? You know? So there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of questions that I have about this. But I think you got to mention that these are Grammy award winning artists, right? They won a Grammy.
Yep.
So as Beyonce for best electronic album, you know. So let's just I'll put that. I had to put that out there,
here's
right?
the thing. I don't think that, to me, Justice is not normal house music in the house music that you have listened to and talked about before. Justice to me is very different than that. Like there are parts of this album that sound synth wavy, right? Like it sounds like wave music, which I really, really like. And like I love the collabs on this album, apart really from one. They use their collabs really well, and like there are times where, and we'll get into some of these songs later, but like to me, the opening track, Never Ender, with Tame Impala, like that doesn't sound like a house song to me. It doesn't strike me as a house song. It's a melodic kind of electronic song that I wouldn't put in the definition of house, which is why like even their first album has a lot of songs that are heavy and do have a quote unquote drop to them, right? And I think it's the bass head in you that's like you want that drop, and I understand that because like there are times where I want the drop too, but like there's not a ton of songs on here to me where it builds to a crescendo where I want to drop afterwards. Like it kind of does an even flow for me to where I'm not expecting that. And I don't know, Justice to me sounds very different than somebody like, I don't know, Fred again, you know, and I get that gripe with house music for sure, but I think they're way more creative. I think they utilize music in a totally different way. And like they said in the Apple Music intros, like they liked rock and roll music, right? And they kind of use different progressive synthwave, metal, indie, like it's kind of a hodgepodge of all this type of music coming together. The basis of it is definitely house music, but as a whole, it doesn't feel like house music to me. And I don't know, I think they're just really unique. I think that's why I like them.
Yeah, I think unique is an interesting way to describe it. You know, and I mean, there's solid instrumentals on this album. I mean, there's guitars, there's saxophones or horns that are kind of like playing. So there are interesting parts, and I do agree with the kind of synth wave kind of interpretation too. So like, yeah, I misclassified this as a whole house album, and it's not that. But there are definitely points where it's just like repetitive pulsating beats in my brain just turn me way off.
Yeah.
And like I don't know how to get around that, or if I want to get around that, you know, because like in reality it's just like something where for me, like and it comes from a love of progressive rock too, where it's like if you were to compare AC/DC to Pink Floyd, right? You have two rock bands, similar time periods, right? Close. But you have totally different approaches to music, where like AC/DC, even Metallica, it can be this like smasher of a track, right? But then you have Pink Floyd, who's really like building these things, and like they're like environments that you want to hang out in, right? Where like it for me, like I said, there was just points where I was like, oh, I wanted to go one direction and it went the other direction. Yeah. So it's like hard for me to jive with that, but I'll hear it out, you know, like that's the thing. I went through there.
No,
I made
that's
it fair.
So that's fair.
All the way from Never Ender to the end. I'm like, oh, thank God. No.
And I listened to and like they have a very, I don't know, I don't listen to a ton of French music, and honestly even Amanda doesn't really listen to a ton of French music, but like I think, you know, Breakbot is another French electronic artist, and there's some songs in here that sounds like Breakbot. Like I think like French electronic music has a very specific sound to it that they kind of ride. but there are departures from it in this album. Like Mannequin Love is like what I would think of as like a typical French house song, right? Like it has that high pitched singer to it, and it's kind of the same melody. It sounds very similar to Breakbot's most popular song, which I can't remember the name of right now. But there are also songs that are totally different, like Moonlight Rendezvous, and so it's kind of like they just go a bunch of different directions here, which I kind of like. But I get like there's a repetitive nature to the individual songs, but the album as a whole does not feel repetitive to me.
Yeah,
Like it feels like there are enough differences throughout the album to keep it not boring, you know?
right. And I think if some of those tracks are chopped down, like if they're 2-minute tracks of that feeling, and then live they build them outwards as long as they would like, right? I get that. Like I'm game for that, and I understand where they're going, and I understand that there is more to these songs to be experienced live. But
Right.
5 minutes of blue balls back and back, I'm like, oh my god, like how can I do this? So like that again, like that physically does something to me that I'm like, damn, I want to abort right now, like a long time ago. Like I was telling you the other day, I was at an event selling artwork, and I mean, you're talking 2 p.m, blasting house music in public, and like I don't. It's like the lack of self-awareness. It's like, who's having this party? Like the DJ in the booth is having his own party, and everyone else is like forced to not. They can't leave.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know how that draws people in, but I could definitely see at a festival, obviously, people being drawn towards house music because of that pulsating energy, right?
Yeah.
But I find it hard to digest over a long period of time. But people love it, so like I can't deny that fact.
Yeah.
But it needs to be explained to me, or like if someone tells me, "Oh, you have to just take Molly," I'm like, "All right, this conversation's over." Because like
this isn't a real conversation.
You don't get that. You don't know what that drug is for. But either way, like I said, I have to respect the music itself and the effort that it takes to come into it. But
and
go ahead.
I'd really like to see their live show. Like the videos I've seen look fucking crazy. And Christian sent me one the other day. It looked insane. So I'd really like to see how they make this work live and see kind of what changes they make to it. It looks like a shit ton of fun,
Yeah. And I mean, if they have one live musician on stage or one live vocalist on stage, or they bring somebody, like that changes everything for me. But if it's two guys on a stage with their hands in the air, that just like screams like, what are we doing here? Like, where's the creativity? And there were points in this album that really did come off as creative to me, like they were trying something, and like I could see that and respect that. And it's going to show in my top tracks. But if it's two guys on stage with their hands in the air like this, I'm out. And you can't win a Grammy. Do you think this is going to win Grammy? Well, we'll talk later about what our expectations of this album are. But
okay.
You want to get into top tracks?
Let's get into top tracks. You can lead us off.
Okay, so I'll just go top right down the list. Number 1, I have Moonlight Rendezvous. Nice. That song is it seems so left field in the face of this whole album, but it works for me. I wrote like serenade, slow synth, sax, and horns. Like it creates a vibe in its own self, and I really enjoyed that. So like it was in the back half of this album. Really, I had to get through the front half to get to the back half, but that's where I was really opened up to some novelty within the album. Was practically the last 5 tracks.
Yeah.
So I got Moonlight Rendezvous. I don't know why they broke up rendezvous in the spelling format, but it's French, so like they're French, so I have to assume that it has something to do with that.
It doesn't though, and I don't know why they did it either.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, like that's your thought is the thought that I have, but I just give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, that's weird.
Yeah.
But oh well. It made my top track of the album, so oh well, they get a pass.
Yeah.
The next tracks, it's pretty much a 3-track sequence that's going to wrap out my top tracks. It's Muscle Memory, Harpy Dream to Saturnine, or Saturnine, strictly because of this progression that's happening within these 3 tracks. I mean, these 3 tracks are easily meant to be in sequence, and they flow together. Which brings me to the thought of like, why not do that earlier, or why not combine these tracks into one long track? I think it makes for an interesting conversation creatively to say like Muscle Memory is very much like a building track. Harpy Dream I have is kind of another crescendo track, which leads right into Saturn 9, this kind of breakbeat synth track, which I think works, but I would just be curious as to thinking why have like a 49-second track right there and not either squeeze it into the front or, do something differently with that. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think like they probably didn't want to make a 10-minute track, like they're probably like, there's a clear start and end to this. And like Harpy Dream is like the split point. And they were kind of like, let's just let it flow one track to the next. Like, let's not make a 10-minute Justice song, I don't know. Like, but there are different vibes, right? Like, Saturnine is different than Muscle Memory. It has a feature on it. Like, it would have been weird to me to just have a 10-minute track and have Miguel in there for a minute and a half. Like, I don't think it would have worked. So maybe the feature had something to do with the decision. But like, I get what you're saying. But I also like, it's kind of cool to just, I mean, I don't really consider Harpy Dream a song because it's 28 seconds, but it is cool to just have that, like, to listen to every once in a while, because it's some weird sounds in there, right? And it's like very.
I think it's very pretty, But yeah, I agree. It kind of functions as a bridge between the two tracks, but like, it also functions as the maybe prettiest point of this album,
Yeah.
But I do find it just interesting to have it kind of chilling on its own island out there. But sure. I'm glad they put it in there because it definitely helped me out. So thank you, Justice. Thank you, Justice.
Okay, so for me, number 3, I have the first track, Never Ender, with Tame Impala and Justice. So I love Tame Impala. I love his voice. I don't know what Tame's real name is. Jordan's gonna fucking kill me because he's a huge Tame fan, and I sent him these tracks as soon as they came out.
Is Tame Impala one person?
Oh. It's like he writes, records, and performs the records.
Kevin Parker is his name.
Kevin Parker, and then he performs with a band, like he tours with a band.
Okay, gotcha.
But he's musically, man, he's so creative. He's such a good artist, and he's done so much good work. And like his music it almost sounds like just a Tame Impala song. So I think like their collab worked really well together. And I just like, this is just like, we're on different wavelengths here, Anthony. Yeah, like this is just a nice, like, I'm going out, I'm throwing on Never Ender, I'm bouncing to it, like I'm vibing, I'm having a good time. It's 76 degrees outside, the sun's going down, and like we're about to get into some shit. It's gonna be a good time. This is putting me in a good mood, just puts me in a good mood. And then number 2, I had once again another Tame song, One Night All Night, and pretty much for the same reason. This one's a little bit more. I don't even want to say dark because it's not dark at all, but like the beat is more dark to it, and it's kind of heavier, kind of like a heavier pulsating bass to it. And Tame just comes in with those vocals, but there's a part like a minute, probably 15 in. Listen to it right now. He does his lyric and then it goes into kind of like what their version of a drop would be, right? Like it kind of picks up a little bit and his voice distorts and then it goes into just their music. And I just love the sound of it, man. It's a hard ride for me. And then my favorite one of the whole album is Explorer with Conan Moccasin. So I don't know who Conan Moccasin is. Christian like knows this guy. He was like, it's crazy that they collabed with him. This shit is haunted synthwave vibes. That's what it feels like. If you were to create a haunted house and put synthwave music in it, Explorer would be in there. It's so fucking weird. And it just like, it's such a cool song to me. It's like, I never know what direction it's going. And I just I had that playlist that I sent you and Jordan that one time. It's all synthwave music. And every once in a while I'll throw it on. But that's kind of the vibe I get from this, just spooky synthwave. So I really, really liked it.
Yeah. You know who's a fan of synthwave, right?
Who?
A couple of directors happen to be brothers. They do a couple films,
Stop.
Uncut Gems and
Stop.
Good Time,
For a,
Synth Wave. I'm like,
for a split second, I thought you were going to say the Coen Brothers, and I was going to get really excited, and then I realized who you were talking about
yeah,
and got
right.
sad.
Well, I mean, the fact is, I went and saw Uncut Gems last week, maybe 2 weeks ago now. They did an IMAX re-release, and I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, why? How does Blake not love this movie? It's got basketball, it's got gambling, it's got jewelry bling, it's got synthwave laced throughout, it's got Adam Sandler, like, it's got. Hold on, I'll give you another one. It's got Swimming Pools by Kendrick Lamar laced in the background of a blacklit club,
Listen,
dude.
I will tell you, I've come to realize why I don't like that movie. And it's a discussion we have had. It's because The Gambler is a better version of that movie. They just jacked the whole flow from The Gambler and just made it worse. And you'll see when I make you rewatch it that movie is better than Uncut Gems. But we'll get into that debate later.
Yeah, we will.
And also, coming back to Explorer, you know where Explorer would have been perfect? In Good Time, when they're in the haunted house. That would have been fucking perfect for that movie. Okay, well, I didn't like your reaction to my top tracks. Let's get into your bottom tracks.
Yeah. You know, I mean, you say these songs put you in a good mood, and this might take you out of that good mood. So I'm just going to give you all the tracks. This is how I do this, all right? So I'll go the top two bottom tracks that I had. It's because they have a similar theme. They do this thing in Incognito and in Explorer with the kill switch, where I'm not sure if they know how effective a kill switch can be, because there are points where they're just kind of like, you know, obviously muting the track, and it doesn't work for me, man. You know, what does Randy Jackson say? It's a no for me, dog. I mean, I'm like, oh God, you know, because like when you see a kill switch effectively utilized by Bass Nectar, did it pretty great. Buckethead does it amazingly well. So good to where he'll let anybody in the crowd play his kill switch, which we haven't even gone down Buckethead land yet, which we will soon. Like I said, it's just those kill switch take me out of it. And also I wrote in Incognito, it's like, I wrote pointless build and pointless closure. Like they're building, but like the juice is missing for me. But that's the thing. Why build if you're not going to deliver? I don't know. Like I said, I could, you know what this album listening to this made me feel like? There's an episode of South Park where it's called, I think it's called You're Getting Old. Something like You're Getting Old. So later in this,
yes, I know which one you're talking about.
So Stan is listening.
Everything is shit.
Everything sounds like shit, and I'm like, is it me? Because it can't be me. Because like I like a lot of good things, I feel like, but this, like I said, I was just like, man, that's why I was kind of looking forward to this conversation to see what resonates with people about this. Because, like I said, I think mentally my brain has just gone down that fork in the road, and there's no coming back on that street.
Yeah.
But number two, you're not going to like this, Never Ender. Maybe it's just the track name, perhaps, where I'm like, you're starting this album with the track called Never Ender, and I'm struggling.
You thought it was never going to end?
I was struggling. I'm like, I don't know. How long is this album? How am I going to do this? I really just wrote sonically inconsistent. There was something in my head that was like, there's different things happening in the song sonically that like really threw me out of whack. I wrote just question mark, what are they doing? I want to know more, like creatively how it's being done, just to see that there's something back there, not just like I don't know. There's something to that track that I'd like to learn.
All right.
And the third bottom track, I guess, I put Dear Alan. Really just again, first off, I'll say this: I wrote, you know, funky guitar, which I dug in that track, but then around 350, I wrote waste of a build-up. You know, it's just like I feel like there could be so much more, but again, it's whatever it is, you know. So
yeah,
that's all I got right now.
I'm only upset about the Tame thing. Because Tame's voice, man, Tame is great. It's a bop, you know. I just don't think, Anthony, that you've had many pre-games where you just need to put something on to just vibe to, you know, just vibe to, drink some beers and hang out, you know, as the sun sets in the background. And that's okay, you know?
It's okay. But I'm telling you, if you want me to leave a room as quick as possible, throw on some house music. And I will say peace because like my ears don't need it. You know, I can willingly make a choice, you know, to say, I'm okay. There's the door. I will see you guys at the show. All right. There we go. I mean, like that's like that.
We're gonna put this to the test one day and see if you actually pull a Christian and just leave unannounced,
Dude,
and just slink out
no,
the door.
I will announce it for sure. But like that was the thing at that show the other day. I looked at the person next to me and I was like, I don't think how long are we supposed to be here? Like, and it's a matter of making some profit or listening to house music, and like I will lose profit to escape it. You know what I mean? So it's like I said, mentally, when it might be because I've been like when I would go to see someone like Bass Nectar or be at an event for a headliner, you have to sit through house shows, right? Typically openers, and it's like I like I said, mentally I was able to just tune it out completely and have conversations with people. But like when I have to actively listen to it, it's very difficult. Like I said, physically it does something to me where it's like telling me just to get out of there. Like
get out of there, bro.
My body is rejecting it, you know.
Jesus Christ!
So, all right, now
okay. So
tell me you got something.
I'm on the same page with Dear Allen, so that's one of my bottom tracks. Cool. I really like the beginning of Dear Allen. Like it's really cool. It's funky. It's weird. Like it's nice. Like it's like 80s electronic music to me. That's what it sounds like at points. Like a minute 30 in, it kind of sounds like that. And then like around 350, it's like I wrote like what the fuck is going on here? Like, exactly. It just turns into chaos, and it just it ruins the whole flow. Like they should have just cut it off instead of doing whatever they do going into that last minute and a half. That didn't vibe with me. And you're not gonna like these two, but Saturnine, I like this Miguel feature. And like he has potential, and look, Miguel has some good songs. There's some good features from him, but like this is not it, man. Take him out of the song, and
I agree with
this song so much better. Actually, like I don't know. I agree. He takes me out of it.
The soft vocals are very much a throw off for me too, you know. But I was like, I got to pull something out of this, you know. So like, but I get it. I don't even. What other Miguel songs are there? There's one that's pretty popular, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
I don't know, but like he's
like
kind of
like
slow
R&B.
Yeah. He's in that J. Cole song "Power Trip," which is like one of J. Cole's most popular songs. He sings the hook and the chorus.
Does that sound familiar?
Maybe.
Baby, I don't need I don't know. I feel like that's a popular one, but who knows?
And then the next one, Midnight Rendezvous or Moonlight Rendezvous, and the only reason is because I wanted more, man.
I'm about to say it's too short. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's too short. Like this is such a cool song. It's so I don't know. It takes you out of your head for a second, right? It's like just picture getting on my bike. I own a motorcycle, by the way, just so everybody knows. Getting on my bike and just cruising 100 at night down the street listening to this, and like. If I'm going a short distance, maybe 2 exits, it's perfect. But if I want to go 4 exits, I need a longer song. So that was kind of my main gripe with it. It's like
I would say Justice can like totally redeem themselves in my heart and my brain if they would take the track Moonlight, however they did it, and build an album off of that. Like go in that direction and see what happens, and like maybe then you can, you know, deservedly win some awards, right? But I haven't listened to their Grammy winning stuff.
I lied. Also, I looked this up. Amanda would be pissed. I hope she doesn't listen to this. Rendezvous in French does have the hyphen.
It does.
I thought it didn't. I thought it just was straight rendezvous. But yeah, so now you know.
Right.
So
but yeah, I think if they gotcha.
You think that they can redeem for you if you go see them live and they take Moonlight Rendezvous and drag it out like 6 minutes?
You know what it would take to get me out there live? You might have to like sedate me and wake me up
Nah, nah.
at the concert strapped into a chair that I can't. I mean, like, that's the thing. I don't like when it gets to a certain point mentally, it's like, yeah, I'll leave it for the people who like it, right? But yeah, if you show me a video of them playing it live, I get some respect that way. But live in person, you gotta make miracles happen there, bud.
Even if like, what if you saw a video and you're like, wow, that looks really sick, you wouldn't go?
Now, I mean, it would have to take some serious convincing, or it be like a thing where like you're in town and they're in town and you're like, dude, if you just go with me to this show, you will get it. If you tell me that, I would give it a shot, like legitimately. But I will also look at you dead in the face at the show and be like, this is what, are you for real? No.
That's fair. That's fair. Okay, well, let's get into. I'm really interested now. Give me your review out of 10. What do you got?
No Pitchfork. 10 out of 10 over there.
Oh yeah, here. Let's do that first. What do you think Pitchfork's review is?
Something high. Like I'll say a 9 from Pitchfork.
It's
like
actually
okay.
It's a 6.3.
Okay.
It says the French electronic titan's fourth album is sleekly aerodynamic, expensively appointed, and stacked with bold name guests like Tame Impala and Thundercat. If only there was some real drama. That's what they say. And then Rolling Stone doesn't have a review. So what do you got?
Okay. I am below Pitchfork, and this is might be my lowest rated album, lower than all those rappers from back in the day. I don't even remember who, but this gets a 4 out of 10 from me.
Jesus,
you know? 4 out of 10, literally because like I don't ever foresee myself doing it again. And I also wanted to put my rating on the record in case this does win a Grammy next year, because like I for some reason feel that might happen. I don't know why, but it could. But yeah, so a hard 4 out of 10 for me. It's just what it is.
All right, that's fair. I give it an 8. I think it fucking rocks. I think it's really enjoyable. And you know what? Like I said, my brain went the other direction. I'm a house guy now. I love house music. I love techno. I've retired from the basshead life. Get that fucking heavy drop, excision, bass nectar shit out of my face. It's too violent, I just want to sit and vibe to some techno and some house music. So for me, 8 out of 10. Hard. Good album for me.
Is this an album you could smoke a whole cigar to and let it ride?
100%. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, nighttime, back porch, let it ride, smoke a whole cigar. Sounds like
neighbors
a great time.
Like, if I live next to you, man, we're gonna have a conversation. Say, yo, we gotta
talk about this. All right, so let's get into Rides or Dies and intro your track. And I swear to God, if you pick this for the reason I think you fucking picked it, I'm going to leave the podcast and you're gonna have to run it by yourself. So go ahead, intro.
I believe this song came out in '98. I want to make sure before I dig deep, because everyone knows this song, because it is probably the original good house music track, right? This song still bangs today, and I brought it to the podcast because I had to bring a legit, decently good house music song, and to show you that like shit doesn't change, right? If you're talking over 15 years, potentially, no, over 20 years, this song, maybe even 25 years, has been around. Called Blue Dabba Dee, Dabba Da, Dabba Dee, Dabba Da. Eiffel 65, man. I had to bring it out because, like I said, this is a song that I can still listen to today. And I don't enjoy this type of music necessarily, but listening to it with 32-year-old ears, I can pull parts of this song that I really like. Plus the vocals too. They don't throw me off. I mean, there's some things happening in this song. So I had to bring it out. This will be probably the only, techno house track, electro house track that I'll ever bring as a ride or die. But tell me, does this song ride or does it die?
This song sucks ass.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like that you're comparing it to Justice, a legitimate artist, because this is ass. And it's offensive to me that you would do that. And I knew that you were going to do that. I knew you were going to be like, oh, this is what they could be if they were good. And you know what? I don't fucking like that. This song dies. Like, what are these vocals, man? Like, this is such a meme song before meme songs even happened. And
The
like,
metaphor.
I just not for me. So hard dies.
I was gonna do something like Deltron 4040. Is that what that song's called? Or like Crazy Frog, or some other like notorious house track. But like this one, I mean, I listened to it, and I was like, still got it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Interesting.
But
You really are 32.
there we go.
Okay,
Sounds like
so yeah, so I picked Houdini off of. It's the single off of Eminem's upcoming album. So the album is called The Death of Slim Shady. Okay, and so there's some theories running around about what that might be. A retirement album, paying homage to old Slim Shady, which he does in the video. I don't know if you watched the video for this, Anthony, but we'll get into that later. There's a theory that it's called The Death of Slim Shady because he's going to revert back to what Slim Shady used to do in the early 2000s, and he is effectively going to get canceled, right? The joke being society has killed Slim Shady, not Eminem. That's the theory. We don't know if that's actually going to happen. But through the release of this song, he's caught some flack. He has a line in there about Megan Thee Stallion getting shot, and people are in an uproar about that. He said that he's listening to R. Kelly's favorite group, Black Eyed Peas, which I think is a great line. So it's just real. It's classic Slim Shady, man. The video is basically the current day rendition of the Without Me video. So he dresses up in the superhero costume. Yeah. He gets in the car with Dre. He's riding around. But there's some really good lines in the song, man. It's funny. It's a bop. He parodies Abracadabra by Steve Miller. So yeah, I love this song, and I'm really excited for the album. And whenever it drops, you better believe we're going to review the shit out of that. So, But what did you think?
Yeah, I listened to it. I listened to it when it came out, and I thought it was really interesting. But you delivered a lot more context to me because, I got that like comical Eminem Slim Shady vibe that I'm like, all right, this is like that. And then I was reading the lyrics, of course, and was like just geeking out. And my transgender cat Siamese identifies as black but acts Chinese. Yeah, it's like he's just now like it just seems like zero fucks. Everything is coming out, and like good on him to just express himself that way. But it is I'm very interested to see what direction the whole album goes, because this one does feel like it feels like I can totally envision him like behind a curtain and sticks his head out and he starts rapping this song, like as Slim Shady, Bleach, all that, like just like going back, like you thought I was gone, nah, here it is again, it's my magic trick, abracadabra. So I'm stoked for it. It rides. It's not my favorite Eminem type of music, right? But it's caricature Slim Shady, so I'm like, all right, you gotta respect it.
You'll get a kick out of the video. It's really funny. And there's clips of it of him rapping next to like old him, so it's like present day Eminem.
Oh hell yeah!
And then there's like a moment where he like puts on a blonde wig, but he still has his brown beard, and like he's trying to be Slim Shady. It's really funny. So
I get it. He's fucking hilarious, I mean, and it really comes out in the music, like he's really professional and really serious in the stuff that I've seen of him outside of that. But like, dude's hilarious. And like I said, some of these lines, it's like, how can you not laugh your ass off? And how could you take it seriously? That's the other thing. It's like, it's no secret, right? He's always been that way. So it's like, why would you? Yeah, people are crazy.
It'll be really interesting to see the public reception of the album. But I was telling Trey, like, this song is the first time I've seen people almost unanimously agree on the internet, like, this is a good Eminem song. Like, in the past 10 years, like, when he releases stuff, it's always like half the people on the internet saying how much it sucks. But this song came out and everybody was like, okay, he still has it, which is cool to see.
That's the thing. I mean, if you say it's an Eminem track, people know or have an idea of what they're getting, and he delivers.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, so we watched Mad Max Fury Road, which was, I guess, technically both of our picks. You gave me an option. I picked Mad Max Fury Road. So we rewatched it together, Amanda and I, and she hadn't seen it. And she's a little hesitant anytime I tell her it's an Anthony pick. She's like, oh, God, here we go. But she really enjoyed it. Obviously, I think it fucking rocks. It's such a great movie. But what did you think upon rewatch? And have you seen Furiosa yet?
Yeah. Dude,
I have not.
I watched I'll keep it. I got you. But I did see Furiosa, and then I also rewatched the other three Mad Maxes too. So it's an interesting kind of franchise that George Miller has built. George Miller seems to me to be fucking like his 100% unapologetically himself, you know. And Fury Road, I think, is like a pinnacle of cinema in a sense, where it's like all these elements are combined into a film that is just, it's hard to be replicated. It's almost hard to be put into words, but like this movie kicks ass. I think it tells a great story. I think it plants a lot of seeds for Furiosa, which is the prequel to Fury Road. But I loved it upon rewatching. I got to see it in theaters, and in theaters was my first Mad Max any experience for me. And to see Fury Road when it was shown on a massive screen, massive sound system with a bunch of people too, it was fucking kick ass, you know. And I think that it's clear that there's a love for, I mean, automobiles or machinery or like engineering throughout these films. There's some great shots. Like I love these desert films are so, because in talking Dune and Fury Road and Furiosa, it's like there's certain things you can only do in that context, which is have crazy distant shots of oncoming things to build tension. So like when there's any shots that are like, I just call them like perch shots of somebody up on a dune or up on a ravine or up on a canyon or a gorge or whatever, seeing things coming up or seeing dust in the distance or smoke in the distance. It's like, that's a great way to build tension that really you can only do in that type of environment, that wasteland type of environment, you know. And I love the night shots of the desert too. Like that's just so, I've never been to the desert. I would love to go and can't wait to go and experience that, especially at night. But like, it's just so visually pleasing to be out there.
Yeah.
So there, like I said, there are some things that I think are done so well throughout this film. But yeah, what did you think? Have you seen it before?
Yeah.
This watch.
Yeah, and I like. So I gave Denis Villeneuve a ton of shit for his comment about not needing dialogue, which pissed me off because that doesn't make any sense to me. But Mad Max is honestly, it doesn't make sense in the context of Denis because none of his movies are like that. Like there's a shit ton of dialogue in his movies, whereas Mad Max, there's like 30 minutes in the beginning where like nobody says a word, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like it's still really, really interesting and captivating. And I think that's like a prime example of what Denis was talking about when he made that type of comment. Like to me, I envision a movie like Mad Max. Like even Max's like dialogue is him like grunting, like he's not even talking really.
Yeah, right.
So it's like it's cool to be able to stay engaged because visually it's so appealing and so interesting, and like cinematically it's so intense that you're still wrapped into it when there's not a ton of dialogue happening. And the action scenes in this movie, man, like when they finally catch up to the truck and they're all trying to get onto the truck, and it's like Furiosa and Max just back and forth, like pop, 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 like all this shit. There's fucking dirt bikes flying all over the goddamn place. There's shit exploding. There's cars going everywhere. Like it's and the engine catches on fire. They throw the sand over it. Like there's visually, like when you're watching action sequences like that, George Miller he nails action and he does a great job in it. And like the contrast and the colors with the desert and the bright blue sky that they do multiple times, right? Like that contrast is so cool, and it's just visually a stunning movie, and it's a shit ton of fun to watch, right? Like action movies are really hit or miss. You have a shit ton of action movies that are ass. I mean, Netflix puts one out every week and it's some piece of trash that they threw together, but it's an action movie. And then you look at a real action movie like this, and like you don't call this a drama. It's not a drama to me. It's an action movie, but it's well constructed. But it still has those elements. Drama. Yeah. And I think that, you know, I'm really, really excited for Furiosa, and I love Anya Taylor-Joy, and I think she's a great actress, and so that'll be interesting. And I'm excited to see kind of where he goes with a prequel, you know. And Furiosa in Fury Road is a super interesting character. She's fucking badass. Her mechanical arm is crazy, and I'm just excited to see more of that. You know, more of the explosions, more of the bikes, more of the action that he's able to cultivate and direct to a point where, you know, and there's moments where like the action scenes, that scene I was just talking about, my big thing in movies is cuts. Like when there's a ton of cuts in a movie, it drives me fucking crazy. And like if you're watching an action scene or a dialogue scene or whatever it is, and it's like cut, 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 it drives me crazy. And Fury Road is not like that. Like there's action scenes that are, he holds one shot for a long time. There's so much happening in that one shot that he can kind of fit into that frame, and that's what I really like about his directing style. So overall, man, it was a blast. I'm glad we watched it again.
Yeah, and just like the sound of the engines, you know, throughout the film are just like massaging you. Like that, like seeing that type of film in a sphere like atmosphere as far as like sonically, like that's why IMAX does it so well, I think, as far as like the sound that amplifies at you, but it's not overwhelming. I mean, just the title tracks, you know, title cards are engines revving, and it's like, oh,
Yeah,
like you can feel this thing building. And I think, yeah, the action shots are just incredible. The things he's able to do with vehicles are just insane. And also just like from a filmmaking standpoint to do it safely is
yeah,
like how, you know, and I think that there's a lot of respect from other directors and filmmakers of George Miller because he's a OG a filmmaker as far as doing things like this. And that was cool to kind of go back into all the other Mad Maxes because they're all so different from a narrative standpoint and from a like action standpoint on screen. But this one I think is the most impactful because of what he's able to accomplish. And for me personally, I used to play this computer game growing up. It was called Full Throttle, and it's like a Lucasfilm, you know, cheap ass computer game, but it has all these elements of Road War where like you're riding a motorcycle and someone else rides up and you're like
yeah,
fucking smashing each other
yeah.
and shit like that. And like it this movie brought me right back to being that kid on the computer playing that game. And I used to have so much fun doing it. And it has characters like that. Like the characters that George Miller comes up with, the villains are fucking like so outrageously like, it's not like they're not scary. They're like almost comical in a sense, you know.
Right.
It's like they're just
Yeah.
like caricatures of themselves, and that's a consistent theme throughout his movies too. Is that like the villains are just like fucking outrageous. Like in this movie, like a Morton Joe has a suit that I realize is like recycling his own piss to like I think I guess I maybe shouldn't say for sure, but I think that's what it is. It's like recycling his own piss, and you know he has like that shield and it has like
Yeah.
this yellowish liquid that I
Yeah.
don't know what else it is, but they're running low on water out there apparently.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Yeah.
You'll like Furiosa. I think we should do a side if you go check it out.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna try to do it this weekend, but didn't end up having time. But I'm gonna try for sure.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, your album, my movie. What do you got for album?
All right, so we're gonna stay in the electronic realm because like I had to combat this feeling with something that is again healing and necessary. And another Grammy nominated artist who hasn't been on the podcast yet, who goes by the name of Tycho.
All right.
What we're gonna do is gonna be interesting because the last album that Tycho came out with, there's two albums. One is called Weather, and one is called Simulcast. These albums are basically it's basically two versions of the tracks, I guess is the best way to describe it. Weather is an album that is more no, I'm sorry. Yeah, Weather is an album that's more it features vocalist on it, and Simulcast is going to be more strictly instrumental electronic music. But I think it'll be interesting to kind of listen to both, and you take your time and you do whatever makes sense to you. You don't have to go back to back or go all the way through. They're very short listens, like 30 minutes each. So it's going to be fun to kind of play with it, to hear the similarities between the tracks, to hear what is done differently. But I think we'll do that. Make it like a joint podcast, Weather and Simulcast, and we'll just talk it out and see what you think.
Nice. Hell yeah. All right, so since you gave me a choice last week, I'm going to give you a choice. So two totally different types of movies here. So for context, Le Mans is coming up, which is a 24-hour race, GT race in France. It's like the most famous race of all time. So Le Mans is 2 weeks from now. So our choices are, with that being the context, number one is Ford versus Ferrari, which is Matt Damon, Christian Bale. It's a long one. It's like 2.5 hours long. Or Dunkirk. So I love both. I enjoy both. I've seen both multiple times. So to me, I can go either way. So what do you think?
So, okay, we'll put Dunkirk on the back burner and we'll go Ford versus Ferrari because I haven't seen it. And I know Michael Mann, I think, directed it, did Heat too.
Yeah.
So like, I've been, and I wanted to see it when it came out. It just passed. But let's do that. Ford versus Ferrari. You said it's pretty long.
Yeah, it's like 2.5 hours almost.
Okay, that's all right.
So
we'll do that. Yeah. So Ford versus Ferrari and a little bit of Tycho coming next week.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right. Anthony, just so this doesn't fuck up, I'm gonna end this and let's sit in the studio for a second so that we can actually upload a video. Everybody else, thanks for listening, and we will catch you next week.
Sounds good.